Hey guys, welcome to Behind the Table episode with our guest Brian Shaw. We have Don Idris, Adam Silver, me, Coach Ray, and we're going to talk some arm wrestling about King of Table 13, which is, it's so close, just 3 weeks. Brian, how is this? How do you feel before your real arm wrestling super match in 3 weeks?
I'm excited, man. To be honest, I am feeling good. The training, I would say, so far has been a learning experience. I think that's probably the best way to describe it, just because it's so different than training for strongman. Training for strength, where I'm against a weight or a implement or something like that, right? Like when you're arm wrestling, as you guys well know, it's another human being that's pulling against you. And so how much time I can spend on the table, how much damage I'm taking from that, how the recovery goes, like this has all been a balancing act that I'm trying to figure out, coming into it. But as of this moment, I feel really good. So I'm very excited to kind of have that adrenaline rush of actually being there, walking out, and making it happen, man.
So, how worried you are about facing Eddie?
um,
Realistically.
a real answer, I'm not. I'm not worried about it. I really am not. I would say that Eddie and I'm. Did you guys already talk to Eddie on here?
Yes.
Yeah.
You did. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I'm guessing that Eddie probably. What did Eddie say? He probably tried to talk about how strong he was and how he's stronger than me. What else? Uh,
Right.
he,
Eddie said if you lose to him after like 2 months of preparation, he will send you a text message every morning telling you that you lost.
Wonderful. Yeah, 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 yeah. So he probably was talking a lot about himself and how he's explosive and strong and these type of things. Making himself sound really good. So yeah, he's he's probably got to play some kind of mental games with himself to like actually feel like he has a chance. That's probably where we're at.
I mean, you do have Eddie does have some kryptonite against you, and he pulls it out whenever, like, when you're trapped in an elevator. Need I say more? That's, I mean,
Oh my
if
God. Well, yes. I mean, I'll tell you what. If he walks up to the table and does that, then yeah, that would. Well,
if you,
to be fair, I feel like the referees would punish him. They would have to. There'd have to be some kind of special, like
oh yeah,
you get a foul automatic for that type of behavior.
Ray, since you're new to this, so Eddie is very, very known from coast to coast for his absolute biohazard, toxic
I seen the videos.
Oh
gases.
yeah, he's yeah.
Yeah, I
Like it's
actually when you watch the video, you can actually smell it while watching it. So
like, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
serious. Like it would melt a hazmat suit. It's like really, really bad. Like to the point where it becomes like. And he waits till you're trapped in a car or trapped in an
Oh,
elevator.
he's
In an
yeah, yeah.
elevator, you know how the air thickens and it becomes a flavor rather than a scent. It's so bad.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
so bad, and I just pray to
we
God
just
that
don't
doesn't
need any
happen.
of the fans scream out, "Eddie, do the special move."
No, yeah, that's yeah.
Um, no, it's just pretty bad. Well, first of all, I think here everybody should basically officially welcome Brian to the world of arm wrestling. And for anybody watching, unless you've been living under a rock for the last, I would say, about 15 years, uh, 4 times world's strongest man, then that's like kind of one of, I'd say, at least about 30 titles that you have. Or is that an exaggeration? That's probably about 30, no, if not more.
Yeah, gosh, I don't know how many, man.
The Arnolds
It's
and
a
the
lot.
Rogue class Rogues, and I mean, like, it's just ridiculous. You've been around for a while, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I had the pleasure of working with Brian a couple of times, and it is the he's probably the only athlete that I've seen that even measures kind of, how the bookies, when they are doing a spread, they'll take wind speed. into consideration, right? That's the guy you're talking to here, like with the measurements and the tape, and like he's so methodical. It's actually a pleasure to watch how somebody can be that dedicated to a sport, and that's kind of scary if he's going to bring all that to arm wrestling.
I was
But
I
then when
was
Wyatt,
excited just about that because you told me that, Devin told me that. From what I have seen that. So how is training looking for you right now? How much arm wrestling training? How much arm wrestling training do you do in the week?
So right now I've got a really good group of guys that's coming. They come over to my gym, so everything is great because it's behind closed doors here. So and they're you know it, I explained this to them at the beginning, right? Like if they come in, they're part of it. They're inside, like and so we're very in control of what we're doing, number one, but also what information's getting out, that type of thing. So we meet once a week. They come over for a session, and typically that's 2 to 3 hours, I would say, of work there, and so just breaking everything down. But that's been I would say, at least in this initial phase, where the most progress has been made is spending time on the table, right? Because that's where I have to get my table IQ higher within the sport. That's just the reality, right? Like I could go and train by myself, or whatever handles I'm working on, like, and I do that outside of the table practice, but really I'm trying to replicate what I'm feeling on the table outside of training, and then I take that then to the table and try to marry those two together. And it's been look, there's a lot to it, right? Like, as you guys well know, it's not something that's so simple where it's like, oh, just put your arm down and here we go, right? Like there's a lot that goes into it, which to me, I really enjoy that aspect of it, because breaking all of that down and trying to figure out like where the weak link in the chain is, try to get that better. It really is something that I'm very much enjoying right now.
Have you found it hard to? You have a lot of people in your ear. You have Devin first started to train you, and then Derek Smith. And have you found it a little confusing, like learning from different people, different techniques and stuff?
So here's what I would say is, and this is, let me see if I can answer your question. So it's very much the way that I think about it is, everybody's built different. Everybody's going to have different strengths. Everybody's going to have techniques that work for them individually, ways that they train that work for them. And I think that everybody's got very good intentions of sharing those type of things and saying like, hey, here's what works. Here's how you should set up. Here's how you should do. So what I try to do is I try to listen to everybody, right? Like if somebody's got advice, I'll listen first, and then I will go back from that and try to decipher that information and say, okay, well, what can I use? What can I take from that? And then essentially what will make me better, right? Because ultimately, I'm built different than somebody who's smaller, for example, right? So maybe their position and the way that they pull, it may work great for them, but it may not work exactly for me, right? So if I try to only take that one piece of advice and apply it directly, it may not translate the way that I want it to. And it's not that all these people aren't trying to help, but at the same time, I think that it's very much like lifting in that sense, right? Like I was known for my deadlift, and I went back to the gym and I opened up my stance. I pulled conventional deadlifts with a very wide stance, which I got a lot of criticism for, but also that's what worked for me, right? Like, and I was able to go back and apply it, and I lifted a lot of big weights, and I didn't get injured, and I did a lot of things that were kind of outside the box, if you can say that. And I think that with arm wrestling, it's important to take advice from guys that have been doing it for a long time, right? But then take that advice and then come back and maybe I use parts of it. Like, so for example, and Devin and I talked about this too, the way that Devin trains, that's probably not going to work for me, right? Like it's not going to be something where I'm going to go in and not warm up and do my max, like a max lift and then do it. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I even said that to him. I questioned him
Yeah,
on it.
Devin has 20, 30 years of doing different things to build that strength.
Yeah, and this it's just a different animal, so it's kind of like being able to take all of that, because I think everybody coming in, I think really and truly it's everybody trying to be helpful, right? So there's a lot of advice flying around, and as I meet and train with different people, that type of thing, I think my job is to take all of that advice and then break it down and figure out what actually works for me, rather than, okay, well, today I'm going to do what Devin says, or tomorrow I'm going to do what somebody else says, right? I'm not going to change that easily, and I think that's where a lot of confusion could come from. And then, like, as I'm training, if I'm constantly changing up what I'm doing, and well, this person said to do this, so now I'm going to change that. Like, it would frustrate me, number one, and then I think it would be something where I wouldn't have my path that I was going down.
Have you
I
tried
always say
both
to
right
beginners,
and left? Sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to, I always give advice to beginners that, like, whatever path you choose, and just follow that path for some time, and then you can look around, right? Because at the start, like, everyone wants the best, right? And different people can explain the same thing from different perspective, right? And sometimes something will resonate with you more than something else. But whoever, like, you're starting and you say you have a good group of guys, like, if they're good accomplished guys, they know how to arm wrestle for a big part of your journey, that will be enough. And then, right, then you need something else until you encounter those problems. So Don, go. Sorry.
Now, I was just out of curiosity. Are you like, have you had a go at both right and left?
100%. Yeah, I'm doing everything right and left. Yeah, so all of my training on and off the table has been right and left.
Where do you feel
Yeah.
more like? I'm assuming right is more, or is it? Are you going to take it match by match? Like what?
Well, it's an interesting one, because, like, even when Devin was out here the first time with me, he said, like, he actually really liked my technique left-handed rather than right-handed. But my right hand is I'm right-handed, so I'm definitely dominant right, and I would say that I'm stronger right-handed, but not bad left-handed, right? Like, it's
Okay.
not it's not something where it's not miles off, right? And actually, again, the way that I move left-handed seemed to come a little bit more naturally for whatever reason, especially when Devin was here the first time. So I'm curious to see how that will go, but I definitely plan on training both hands. Like, I don't want to be where I'm training one hand. Like, I think that this is, and again, I'm probably going to use a lot of strongman references, but it would be like training a circus dumbbell, and you see it all the time where competitors will get so good one-handed, right? But they'll almost create an imbalance. And I would argue that if you get strong on your offhand, you're actually stronger on your dominant hand, right? So, but like, I think that crossover needs to happen, and for me, I want to be able to do both. And then potentially in the future, if something left-handed opens up, maybe we go that direction too. Like, you don't need to be kind of a one-trick pony,
Yeah.
No, that's good. Like, I think arm wrestling, we have this crazy or nice gift of two hands, right? And
Yes, of course.
it gives you, like, so much more to do in the world of arm wrestling, I think, right? I can't imagine, like, when, of course, some people are pushed to, they just one arm sucks, or for some whatever reason, but if they're both good, it's good. I want to ask you, like, the big problem we always encounter with strong people is what I call curse of strength. So when you are so strong that, like, someone can teach you technique and you will just get through it. So how do you deal with it?
Well, I think that you're probably right. I would agree with you, right? Like, if you're walking in at a very high level of strength, being able to maybe be willing to accept, that, hey, the technique isn't right, like, and not necessarily brute force everything. I think that's really important, right? So you kind of can get through it, but if it doesn't look right, you're not moving right. Like being humble enough and willing to say, hey, look, I've got to go back to the drawing board and practice the movement. So it's not so much about trying to overload and maybe lift the biggest weight or move the biggest weight or whatever. Like I think that that's something where you have to come in with a mindset where you can learn, right? And I think that that's something where I can appreciate the learning factor of this, and I need to go into it and be willing to learn, right? Like it's not everybody's coming in, and I knew this would happen where the pressure gets put, the expectations get put, but what I would say is nobody is going to put higher expectations on me than me, and that's been the truth for a very long time, right? Like the expectation I place on myself is so high, but when you do that, you're willing to go back to the drawing board and get better in the small things and work on the small things and essentially take your ego out of the practice, right? Like, and that's where I think the guys around me would probably say that, like, hey, I'm willing to get in bad positions and try to learn, and all of these types of things are being applied. So behind closed doors, that's really where that improvement is going to happen. And I don't plan on, with all of it, being like, okay, well, I'm really strong, so I'm just going to rely on that strength, because I know there's levels to this game, right? Like, you have to work your way through it, and you need to be willing to learn to get to that next level, because eventually there's somebody that I'm going to get to that's got much better technique and their similar strength, and I'm not going to just be able to kind of power through them, and so then that weakness is going to be exposed. So I think that it's just being able to go back to the drawing board and be willing to work on technique, and kind of forget about, like, okay, I'm walking in with a high level of strength.
Nice. Like, because it is a problem, and I see it all over the time. Guys are like, I think practicing behind closed doors is necessary, especially in our age, right? And like you said, everyone has expectations of you, and as soon as they see a flaw, even though you're just learning, they're like, oh, never was good, never gonna be good, right? They write you off like this, like. So I think you have all the correct approach. I'm very impressed. I watch your training videos, pulling videos. Luke Pulsher, the referee that was with you, he's a good friend of mine. So we talked about it, and I'm really excited. As an arm wrestling fan, I'm very excited of Brian Shaw arriving.
Well, I think it's also one of these things where one of the things that I've been trying to do is do a lot of research. So I've been watching a lot of arm wrestling, right? I mean, to be fair, my wife gives me kind of a hard time about it, because I'm watching and studying, so much with this stuff. But also, I think that it's important coming into the sport to have an understanding of the history, right? And all the guys that came before, and guys that have kind of paved the way. And I that's something that appreciation, I think, of all of the guys that have come that have paved that path, right? Like, I think that that's something I very much want to understand. I want to appreciate, and coming into the sport, I think there's a lot of people out there probably that would say, all right, well, Brian, and they're going to learn very quickly this is not true, but it's, oh, Brian's just coming into this because it's an opportunity, to get some views on videos and to get whatever, right? Like, that's just simply not me. Other people, look, there's other people that probably come in and do that, and they say, oh, I can arm wrestle, I can come in and do this, and then they're in, they're out, they're not fully invested. But
Right.
the way that I approach it is very different. It's very different than that. So it's not something where I'm going to walk in and say, like, all right, well, I'm just in this for today because this is what I want to do today, and then tomorrow I'm going to do something else. This is something I've been interested in for a significant amount of time. And with strongman, what I was doing with strongman, it simply wasn't possible to commit to it. But now I'm out of strongman, and so it's something where I've been able, to get in, and it's been great. I mean, Devin coming out was really the first actual table work that I did when he came out, and he came out in June, and then I started having the guys come late June, early July. So that's really the amount of, I would say, like actual practice time that I have had. So it's, you're I guess we're 5 months, something like that, and then we ran the Shaw Classic Strongest Man on Earth, and I got crushed by that in August. So we kind of had to take August off. So there's maybe minus 1 month. So really the amount of time where I would say I've actually been like practicing. Before that, it was more dabbling, right? Like I had a handle and I was kind of messing up. I didn't really know what was exactly what I was doing. So, when Devin came, that was kind of the catalyst of starting the training and building up. And it's ironic because at that time, Devin was like, hey man, I think you should kind of target December as maybe that would work, right? Like maybe December would work. We'll just kind of see. And then, with especially with the guys coming over and being able to find a great group of guys to train with, that's been a big catalyst of driving it forward, because it's something I now look forward to every week, right? I get to have the guys come and, we have a good time, and it's been a lot of learning, but also, I'm enjoying it, which I think is even more important.
That's really awesome to hear. That's really awesome to hear. I think we talked with Eddie, and Eddie, Eddie has Eddie's approach. I
Sure.
still think he's gonna try to beat you. Like he's gonna give anything he has, right?
Yeah.
But we'll see if
Well, he
that is.
should. I would expect. Look, I would expect nothing less. And him working with Neil, like he couldn't ask for somebody better to work with, right? Like Neil knows this game inside and out. And if there's anything that Neil feels like Eddie can exploit in me, they're going to do that, right? Like I'm not going into this and not taking it seriously. Like I know I said at the beginning, okay, well, I don't think Eddie's got much of a chance. And again, we have played around on the table a little bit, right? But it was something where, I have felt his hand, I felt his wrist. I know what kind of strength he has, especially that can relate to arm wrestling, right? It's not, and I'm not saying that he's not strong in different areas, right? Like, of course, he's great at pressing, and it'll be very interesting to see if he actually tries to come in and go for that press that he's been talking about a little bit more. I really don't think that's a smart move on his part, but again, Eddie is a guy that'll take risks probably. So you really don't know what you're going to get into. I have to be prepared for anything they might try to throw at me. Again, I expect to learn from getting out there with Eddie. This is going to be the first time that this is for real. Like you're walking out there, and it's even the like when we posted that practice like kind of mock super match that I did. Even with that, it's like when you walk out for the first time, like where is your grip? And it's the way that I would equate it to is okay. It's not that we haven't practiced all this stuff, but like when you walk out there, it's like trying to think about every component and then actually doing it. It'd be like me trying to tell somebody to deadlift a big weight, and then as they're doing it, they're thinking about, okay, well, I have to set my feet here, and I've got to have my back locked in. I've got to drop my hips, and I've got to keep my chest up, and I've got to, like, you're going through all these things. But what you have to get to is a point where it just happens and you do it, right? So you're not thinking so much while it's happening. And that's part of the reason that I've been doing the things that I've been doing in practice is it's going to take some time to get to that, right? Like you can't walk out the first day and think, oh, I'm just going to do it perfectly, right? Like, and it's, it's got to be practiced. And then eventually you'll get to a point where it's like, all right, I feel this, I react this way. This is what you're giving me. This is where it's open. Those type of things will start to naturally happen. But, it'll be fascinating. I'm very curious to see what Eddie will do, and what approach Neil will have him take, right? Like, I think that's the question of where Neil thinks that there's some type of weakness that they can exploit, because I guarantee that's the research that he's doing. He's trying to figure out like where can they attack me that Eddie will get in the best spot that he possibly can.
Well, I mean, right now, I think Devin comes to you tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I think, day
Yeah,
after
no,
tomorrow.
tomorrow he gets in tomorrow. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of sort of become like Camp Neil and Camp Devin. I don't know why they've just decided to completely. I'm not even sure. Like, I don't even think you guys had a choice. We're just claiming, we claim Eddie for us, and Devin's like, I'm claiming Brian for myself. So just because I've seen you and Eddie multiple times. First of all, when was the last time you were in a major competitive setting with the adrenaline rush
So
and all? It's been a couple of years, right?
well, I mean, it would be back. I mean, before he retired in strongman, that would be
Oh no, I'm
um,
talking about yourself. Yourself.
when I was
You.
competitive.
Yeah. The last time you were in a major competition.
So I won the strongest man on earth last August. So August of 23.
So nothing in
So
between, right? Just your own. Sh- like that was you didn't do anything else, right?
sorry, you cut out just a little bit. I didn't do anything else.
I'm saying, was that the last thing you did? You weren't doing any other competitions, right?
No, that was I called that as my last strongman contest. So yeah,
Okay.
but got I mean that was a fairy tale ending, right? Like you got to walk out on top and um, beat
Yeah.
all the guys, which was awesome. So
So I mean, I think that whole coming out in a competitive setting, the adrenaline, all that's nothing new to you guys, right? And okay, maybe for strongman has been a while for Eddie, but he's been fighting left, right, and center, so it's not new for him as well. Now, when was the
no,
last time
yeah,
you were both together where he was poking at you the way Eddie does, tries to get under your skin? Because that's us. He is pretty good at that. But then
no,
you've
he
got
is.
Camp
Look,
Devin, so Devin's on your side, which is also his little mind trick thing. I don't know if both camps combined are going to go to war. It's just I'm just looking forward to it. I'm just really really looking forward to it. Outside of course the professional sport, uh,
yeah. I
I'm
mean,
really interested to see how low Eddie can stoop
yeah, it's.
to try to get under your
I mean,
skin.
look with that guy, you have to be prepared for anything, right? Like it's just that's the way it is. So it's I nothing will shock me, right? Like I think that I've been around him long enough to know that he's gonna be that guy, right? Like he's gonna come in, he's gonna say something, he's gonna do something, and I don't think that it, he's got to play his cards right because if he knows he can say what he wants to say, but he knows if he pisses me off too bad, like things will not end well for him. So it's one of these things where I think he'll flirt with that line, but I don't think he'll cross it, man. I really don't. So it's it'll be fun. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think people should tune in and watch. There's going to be fireworks. I mean, and not only with us, but I mean, Levon and Jerry, it's going to be awesome, man. Right? Like that's a match I'm very much excited about too, and I can't wait to watch that. Like, the card is going to be awesome. It's going to be really, really a great event overall. So, whatever Eddie does is going to, it's going to be entertaining and what I do back for sure. I mean, yeah, we will see. We'll see what level he tries to go to, but yeah, I'm excited just to be part of it, and to be fair, it's a big honor for me to be on that card. And Levon is going to be interesting, man, because Jerry is an unorthodox guy, and I think he's going to throw a different challenge with that match, and we'll see how that one plays out. Like, I think that's fascinating, right? Like, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and the rest of the matches look great too. So,
Do you know who's coming with Levon? Probably going to be his corner, Janashia.
is he? Oh, awesome,
Yeah,
man. That'll be good.
Janashia's flying over. Yeah. That's But here's the funny thing. Do you remember when we did that strongman contest during COVID in Bahrain, Strength
I do
Island?
remember that.
Do you remember that? That's the first time I met Levon. He came in as Janashia's corner. I had met him way before
Interesting.
we got into arm wrestling. So them
Mhm.
those two have been buddies for quite a while. I think Adam or Ray Janashi always comes wherever Milan goes this time whenever he's
Yeah,
competing at least.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, man, that boy is beat up. Like every time he competes, he tears something. Now he needs some time off.
Yeah,
He was just
it's
telling me, he's
it's
like, whatever
man,
I
you
do,
never.
he either tears a tricep or tears a lat, or he's like, done,
Sounds just
broken.
like you, Don, and you don't even
Oh yeah,
compete.
I don't even compete, man. I'm like busted hand, one eye. Basically, I'm a talking parrot away from becoming a Halloween costume. Essentially, oh, it's terrible, 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 terrible. I wish I was lying, but it's true. So okay, um, right. Well, the excitement continues. I think maybe one more time we should get both you and Eddie on a podcast in a couple of weeks.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm,
Said
it'll
said
be
Brian
interesting to see what he
reluctantly.
says if I'm actually sitting there.
Sorry?
I said I think it'll be interesting to see what his tone is like if I'm part of it, right? Like
Yeah.
versus just him sitting there. I'm sure he was. Well, I've seen him. He's done a lot of podcasts in that gaming chair, right? Like his
Yeah,
his
that was in the
program.
gaming
Yeah,
chair as
that's
well.
he,
Yeah.
he used
And,
that.
and
He used that
the
once in a
interesting
while.
part is he always talks about how busy he is. He spends more time in that gaming chair, man. Like he has all these things to say about how busy he is, but that dude spends a lot of time in that chair. So he probably got a permanent imprint of his ass, just So he talks the big game, man. But like the rubber's gonna have to meet the road here soon. So
Yeah.
Can't wait.
All right. All right. Well, I gotta jump off, guys. I mean, what? Anything else
Yeah,
for
we're gonna
Brian?
finish
Or
this, guys. I think everyone watching. I think we're excited for Brian Shaw to arrive to World of Arm Wrestling. Eddie
oh
will
yeah,
try to put a wrench in your wheels. We know that, but we'll see if he can do something on December 14 on King of Table 13. Thank you for being here with us.
I love it. I appreciate you guys. This was fun, man.
Absolutely.
go to the link below, guys. Tickets are on sale, starting from
Yeah.
$50 a pop. There's also a hotel link for fans who want to buy a cheaper rate hotels. They just have to follow the link, and you'll see the event King of the Table discounted rates. And as always,
VIP tickets to meet Adam Silver.
VIP tickets to meet Adam Silver.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's we tried that, but no, they said no, that's just too expensive. Um,
Oh.
so yes, fans, thank you very much. Follow the links. Come in person if you're if you're from anywhere really. Fly in,
Yeah.
drive in. Looking forward to seeing everybody in Atlantic City. And yeah, thank you all for your support and welcome, Brian Shaw.
Love it. Thank you guys.
Yeah. All
Thank
right,
you.
guys. I'll catch you later. Thanks.